friends. Welcome to the Faith Driven Leader podcast. Hey, this is Ann Eileen Thompson. I'm so glad that you're here today. You know, the Faith Driven Leader podcast is something that we started because we really wanted to encourage and equip each other as faith driven leaders, oftentimes working in the marketplace. And we wanted to share the stories of amazing leaders from all different backgrounds so that we can be inspired and equipped and encouraged in our journeys. Today's pod is a little different. Today is a solo pod. I'm calling it a solo pod. And we are going to talk today about something that has been on my heart for a while that I really want to share with all of you as those who are faith-driven leaders alongside myself in the world today. So let's dive in. Well, here's a topic that has been on my heart for quite some time, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. Really, what I want you to be thinking about today is that today's episode is really a call to encouragement. And I hope that it serves as an encouragement to you. And what I mean by that is kind of a calling up of those of us who are leaders, who are faith-driven leaders in this moment. I read a study recently that Gallup did. You know, Gallup does lots of great research on the state of the world of work. And their recent study, they do an annual study globally on how folks are feeling about work and about their jobs and about leadership and management and all kinds of interesting stuff. And some of the results in their recent study were kind of a shock to me and really a bit of a wake-up call. So across the globe, what they found in this research was that overall, the state of well-being, people feeling like they're doing well, is falling. It's just consistently falling, and that's especially true among younger folks under 35. They also found that nearly 20% of employees are feeling angry, sad, and lonely on the daily. They actually asked, which of these emotions have you felt in the past day? And nearly 20% of employees said they felt angry, they felt sad, and they felt lonely, like yesterday. So on the daily, people are feeling angry and sad and lonely. And half of people, 49% of people in the US, said they feel stress or anxiety at work on any given day. I mean, that one almost feels like a given. It seems like it's just become the norm that we are stressed and we're full of anxiety. What's even more disturbing, though, is that 47%, nearly half of employees in the United States would say that they are struggling or they're suffering, decidedly not thriving. The choices were, are you thriving, are you struggling, or are you suffering? And nearly half said that they were struggling or suffering. This is quite a wake-up call, isn't it? Isn't there just some reality here that we need to deal with, that the people that we are working with, the people that we are seeing on a day-to-day basis, that we see on our Zoom calls, the people that when we go shopping or we go to get lunch, the people who are working in the restaurants, the people who are answering the call center calls, the people who are working, including us, including our peers, are feeling angry and sad and lonely and stressed and struggling and suffering. And wow, that feels like people who are poor in spirit. That feels like people who are needing some encouragement. They need a touch of what you and I know to be the source of hope that we subscribe to. You know, they don't need it. I think need kind of puts some burden on us, but there's an opportunity that we have, frankly, as leaders, as peers, as people of God, to encourage other people. Encouragement is the action of giving somebody support or confidence or hope. Biblically, encouragement is closely related to prophecy, right? Which is this idea of strengthening and affirming and comforting others. It's really about calling people up into who they are, what we see in them, what we what we can call out in them about who they really are, how we can call out who they're real, what their identity is, and there's all kinds of places in the Bible where we are called to encourage. In the book of Hebrews, in chapter 3, verse 13, it says, encourage one another daily as long as it's called today, so that none of you may be hardened by sin's deceitfulness. I find this actually really interesting. It's saying encourage each other every day so that we don't become hardened by the deceitfulness of sin. Well, the deceitfulness of sin it's what's leading us to anger and sadness and loneliness and suffering and anxiety and stress, because those are the opposite of living in the truth that God calls us to and that he gives us. So we need to start encouraging people, guys. Like, friends, we need to be recognizing that there's an opportunity out here for us to encourage one another. If we all did that, if we had a attitude of encouraging, lifting each other up, bringing each other strength and comfort and affirmation on the regular, I think those numbers would start to change. And I don't know about you, but the folks that work on teams that I'm on or clients that I'm working with, man, if that's what they're feeling, anger and sadness and loneliness and stress and anxiety and suffering, wow, I want to be a light in that situation. So the question might be, how do we do this? How do we encourage people? And here's just a couple of ideas of things that I've done that have worked well for me over the years, things that you might want to try. And I'd love your ideas too. Maybe you have some other ways that you have encouraged folks in your career. So a couple of things that come to mind for me. First of all, call out somebody's strengths or their contributions or their efforts. It's fascinating what happens when you do this. My husband was in the hospital recently, and we had a series of nurses and patient care assistants coming in and all these kind of folks. And, Rich and I just have a habit of encouraging people and calling out what's great about them. And we noticed that as we did that, as we called out, man, you're so caring when you come in, or I love your attention to detail, or you're always so bubbly and bouncy when you come in the room. As we did that, people's attitudes started to change. And it was interesting because the nurses and the patient care assistants that were receiving this encouragement were coming in to see us quite a bit more often. So and actually that was good for us too. So it kind of raised our spirits as it raised the spirits of these folks that we were encouraging as well. Second way that I've thought about encouragement in the past is really by giving specific positive feedback. And I always use this little acronym that I originally learned at Procter & Gamble called CAR, C-A-R. Give someone like some context or background. What was the action that they did and what was the result? How did it impact you or how did it impact the business? So that might look like, hey, yesterday in the meeting with the leadership team, you really took the initiative to share some specific feedback with the rest of the team. The result was you helped us to become more aware of the situation and help us deal with the reality of it so that we could be better prepared to impact the business or impact our team. So I'm giving some context. I'm saying what the person specifically did, and I'm talking about how it impacted people. And that's just frankly, it's a much more encouraging way to give positive feedback rather than just saying, great job, you're doing a great job. That's nice, but it doesn't really tell the person what is it that they're doing that we're really encouraging. We want to call up more of that type of behavior. We really want to affirm that kind of behavior. The reality is that encouraging can happen in lots of different contexts or channels. So sometimes we want to encourage folks just personally, just one-on-one. We might want to use Slack or send them an email and have it be just one-on-one between them and us if we can't actually talk directly to them. I don't know about you, but I love getting encouragement that's written. I have a little file. I used to print them. These days, I don't print them anymore, but I would print those notes and put them in my Attagirl file. That was my file of when folks had said something really encouraging or affirming to me. I would keep those because they kept me in a good place. If I was having a down day, I'd look back at them. So whenever I can encourage someone in writing, I try to do that because I know that they'll be able to keep it. Some people really like to be encouraged personally. Some people really like to be encouraged in front of others. Really, I find that a balance of that can be very helpful. So calling someone out for something great that they did in front of the team, at a team meeting or things like that, that can really be a really important source of encouragement, as long as they're not the type of person that shies away from that. We just have to get to know the people that work with us so we know what kind of encouragement works best for them. I've read before that it takes 7 positive affirmations to begin to negate the negative. So we're dealing with people, we're surrounded by people who have this anger and this sadness and this loneliness. And frankly, that's probably actually being highly correlated with a lot of negative self-talk that people are doing. So if we really want to help turn the tide of this sadness and loneliness and anger and stress and anxiety, we probably need to really be thinking about how we're giving positive affirmation and encouragement much more than we are these days. However much you think you're doing it, it's probably not enough. We have an opportunity to do that. And, I will say that the encouragement that I hear from listeners is super helpful to me. There are times when the negative self-talk can start, and I'll wonder, is anybody listening to this podcast? Does it really matter? And then I get positive encouragement from you all. So thank you. Your encouragement has been encouraging to me. And I want to say that what I see in the community of faith-driven leaders is so beautiful and encouraging to me. I see a group of people who are chasing after what God has for them, who are chasing after his heart, who are chasing after his people in a way that I think honors him, I think brings him glory. And so well done the work that you are doing to love on folks, to create great work environments, to pursue excellence in your strategy as a way to glorify God and use the gifts that he's giving you. So how was that? How was that kind of just me talking today? I'm curious for your feedback on this Solopod. I don't know that this is something that I'll do all the time, but I really felt like the Lord was just saying, he was just calling me to call you, to call all of us up into this place of encouragement. So I pray that this was helpful for you, that this was encouraging for you, that this was an uplift for your day, and that this gives you something to think about today as you head into work, as you head into your meetings for today. I pray that the Lord would give you opportunities to encourage others. Hey, we're so glad to have you along. If you haven't heard, we have officially launched a YouTube channel for faith-driven leaders, so you can find this podcast as well as other reels and content that we're producing on that site. So please follow our YouTube channel. If you're not already following us on Instagram or LinkedIn, you can find us there as well, and would love your feedback. And please feel free to share this episode, like this episode, leave us a review. We always love that. And we'll look forward to talking to you guys again real soon on Faith Driven Leader Podcast. Thanks.